If you're reading this, then it means that I escaped. My story is a brutal one, and I was shared in the style was intended to be read, so that you might understand, so that you might see it through the eyes of the one who suffered. Please consider this a cautionary tale. It is, I admit, unlikely you ever find yourself in such a situation, but hey, you never know, right? My name is Kadar. I take pride in my work, and I work on the pipes. My current job revolves around an oil pipeline in the Persian Gulf. It's at the very bottom of the sea between the Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's just gone midday, but unfortunately we're too far down for the light at the surface to reach us. So my current surroundings are illuminated by nothing more than the yellowish beam of my flashlight. A small collection of bubbles escape my diving mask. They ripple up and out of sight as I gently kick my flippers, slowly propelling myself through the gloom. As a worker down here, I'm one of three, but the others are currently not visible to me. My beam lands on a gray metal pipe, the one that extends up into the habitat, a cage-like artificial pocket of air, and down to the depths below. I look down and cast my beam over the pipe's body. The light catches on nothing but the rusted metal, a lone cylindrical obelisk in the watery world around me. I lower my beam. I cast it as far down as it would go, but all I see are my flippers beneath me, gently kicking, and the gray pipe vanishing into the blue-black darkness beneath my feet. A chill passes through my body. I hear the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. Where the vertical pipe connects to its horizontal brother on the ocean floor, there is an enormous metal structure of sorts, one with the purpose of keeping a series of temporary installments attached to the pipe in place. I cannot see this monstrosity at present, but the simple act of knowing that far below lurks a monstrous metal skeleton, waiting patiently beneath my feet. I shiver. They tell tales about this place, about this sea. Tales of malevolent spirits that play tricks on divers. Water division, they're called. These spirits show the divers illusions and distortions to confuse them. They get them deliberately lost as a form of amusement, the tales say, and then, depending on the spirit's moods, they either get bored and let them go, or they devour them. Something glitters in the gloom in the corner of my eye, and I wheel around in the water, raising the beam of the flashlight. A gas escaping to my mask, but the beam lands on nothing more than a school of tiny silver fish. "Idiot, Kadar," I murmur to myself, my voice obstructed by the mask, and I kick my way up through the water, following the pipe towards the habitat's air pocket. I see the water line rippling above me. It draws closer and closer, and I catch sight of flashes of color beyond. My comrades. Eventually I break through the surface, popping off my mouthpiece and raising my mask, shaking my hair as I clamber up into the little platform that surrounds us. As I said before, I am one of three. My colleagues are Amir and Ahmed. They sit waiting for me, their legs dangling over the side, their flippers dipping into the water beneath. I let out a grunt and sigh as I take my seat beside them, my own flippers half submerged into the water beneath. It seems almost paradoxical, this little space, a marvel of physics. We sit far below the surface of the sea, in the small confines that the habitat provides, and yet we have air. The habitat is a metal box, about 4 meters in width and 3 in height. The air in here is dank and stale, but it is at least quite breathable. From the center of the water between us, the pipe extends up and into the stagnant air. The pipe is currently corked by an enormous rubber plug, one that we will need to deflate before our shift is over. Its purpose is to prevent the oil inside the pipe leaking out into the sea. Thanks to the habitat, we can safely remove it now without risk of environmental damage. The pipe in question goes all the way down to the bottom of the sea in a straight line, and there it splits in two and travels horizontally across the sea floor. One travels north, a few miles out from the Saudi Arabia coast, and the other travels south. It's about just wide enough for a man to squeeze down, shoot an emergency repair need taking place from the inside, but the diameter is not large. I wipe some of the salt water from my face as Samir connects a long black cable to the depressurizer. The end of the cable leads down into the pipe and is connected to the rubber plug. "See any spirits today, Kadar?" Amir asks me as he fastens the C on the cable. "The Jan al-Bahar," Ahmed chuckles, scratching his beard. His voice, as does Amir's, echoes around the somewhat claustrophobic confines of the habitat. I smile dryly. "No spirits, Amir, just..." I think about the pipe, disappearing down into the darkness far below. I can't quite explain why it gives me the creeps. It just does. "Just what?" Amir asks. "Nothing," I finish. "What about you guys? Any spirits?" I turn to Ahmed. "Have you finally caught sight of Jan al-Bahar?" I wave my hands and fingers mysteriously, teasing him. But Ahmed is undaunted. "You mock, Kadar. But this sea, this ancient sea, if we're gonna see one, then they'll be here." He claps his hands together, and a small shower of water droplets splash down into the water by our feet. The shimmering blue gateway to the sea below, the sea above, and the ocean all around. "And I tell you what else," he continues, raising a finger. "I did see something." "Oh, here we go," Amir mutters, rolling his eyes. No, listen," Ahmed says hurriedly. "Just listen to this. So, there I was, right? About an hour ago, swimming around near the pipe, when I may have gotten a little distracted by a fish." Amir shakes his head, and we exchange a glance. "You should have seen it, Amir. A great golden thing. I wanted a better look, so I left the pipe and followed it just for a short while, and eventually got spooked and vanished into the blue." Ahmed falters. He rubs his chin. "It was actually quite an alarming experience. I turned back to the pipe, and, of course, I saw nothing but the endless void of the ocean. I tried to retrace my steps, but again, there were no steps. I was alone. It was frightening." Me and myself remained silent. "But then, that's when I saw it. I saw them." Ahmed continues, practically jumping on the metal ledge we're all perched on. "Hey, easy," I say, as I feel myself rattle in time to his jumps. Amir flicks a switch on the depreciation machine. It starts to rumble. Ahmed leans forward, looking between us. "Out there, in the far distance, I see a trio of shapes. 3 figures, like shadows in the deep and the gloom." "You should take up poetry," Amir mutters as he flicks another switch. Against my sense of better judgment, I'm too engrossed in Ahmed's story to pay attention to exactly what he's doing. What kind of shapes?" I ask. "What kind of figures?" "They were all smoke, except, no, more like mist, maybe thick, dense mist, with eyes that flickered pale like refracted sunlight. You had to look a certain way to see them." Ahmed's voice drops low, becomes wistful. "I saw them only for a second or two, and then they were gone. Vanished." "How'd you get back to the pipe?" I ask. "Did Spirit show you the way?" Amir chuckles.
Well, no. I just used the compass.
It says.
But that's besides the point. I saw something. I know I did.
I thought the spirits were supposed to be dangerous. Amir says. The stories always tell how cruel they are. They play pranks on divers like us, you know. They bang on the pipes, they groan and moan from the inside. Makes you think, what are the monsters inside? Waiting to burst right out to get you.
Maybe that's why they appeared to me.
Ahmed says thoughtfully, then gestures to the pipe between us.
Maybe they're trying to warn us. Perhaps there's a monster in the pipe.
Amir snorts. Don't be ridiculous.
Maybe once the plug is deflated.
Ahmed says softly.
Maybe the beast will spring right out. And where will we go? We're effectively trapped down here. When you really think about it.
There's a moment of uncomfortable silence, broken only by the slow hissing produced by the depressurization machine, as it begins its work deflating the plug in the pipe.
Shh.
Amir says after a beat, shaking his head. Don't say such stupid stuff.
What nonsense. All I'm saying,
Ahmed finishes, shrugging,
is that the spirits aren't necessarily something to be feared. I know you guys really don't believe, but they can be helpful, too. They don't devour people. The John Al-Bahar. Mischievous, maybe, but not unkind, in their own way.
Ugh. Amir grunts and waves his hand dismissively. Ahmed looks at me for support, and I just laugh. Come on, I say. Enough is enough. I think we have work to do. We're the ones here to snitch on us again. The conversation shifts, and a collective groan echoes around the habitat.
I can't fucking stand that guy,
Amir says dramatically, and we all laugh. Our collective dislike of the man has become a running joke between us. Sahir is technically a colleague of ours, and although we rarely work in close capacity, his projects always seem to be in tandem to our own, so we're never quite rid of him. He has thick red hair and a ridiculously scraggly beard, and all in all, he makes himself an easy target, a busybody, and a teacher's pet. You see, he clocks in more hours than he has to, unpaid, I might add. Yet despite his endearing and tragic efforts, he always gets passed up for the promotion because he has a vacuum for a personality. The here is entirely void of charisma.
Maybe we should play a prank on him before we go up,
Amir suggests, as the machine deflating the plug kicks up a gear. The hissing grows louder.
What kind of prank?
Ahmed asks.
I don't know. We could head over to his side, that Arzark one, bang some pipes, make some noise, give him a little spook before his shift is over. Could be fun.
Wouldn't be worth it, I reply. As much fun as that sounds, Arzark 1 is 1.5 kilometers away. Do you really want to swim all that way for some childish prank? And besides, we'd never fool Sahir with spirit bullshit. The man doesn't believe in anything. He's got no imagination.
True,
Amir nods regretfully. He fiddles with the machine beside him, and he gives it a light slap. And it does its job. It finishes deflating the plug to a sufficient degree, freeing up a space around it, and opening a way into the pipe. What this was supposed to do was allow us to reach in, haul the deflating plug out, check for leaks, damage, and whether the plug needed a potential replacement. We should have been able to do this easily and safely, as the pipe, at this time and on this day, is supposed to be filled with oil. For whatever reason, however, this pipe is not. There is, as it turns out, significantly less oil inside than we were told, and as we believed, And so, what happens takes place over the course of a few terrible seconds. A true nightmare that I will never, ever be able to forget. The positive pressure inside the habitat, the little atmosphere keeping us alive, rushes instantaneously into the pipe and forces down the small amount of oil at a monstrous inhuman speed. The motion creates what I can only describe as a blinding vortex. The air and the ocean are hauled up and around like a sudden whirlwind of chaos and terror in a blink of an eye. My vision is lost to the brutal and immediate rush of darkness. As my body is slammed into the habitat wall, I scream, but all that I can produce is froth and bubbles as my shoulders crack on the edge of something metal. I do not know which way is up or down. The safety and the sanctuary of the habitat is shattered. I can see nothing but shadow as water blasts into my nose and mouth and eyes, and I am sunk instantly and brutally down into the pipe. I can feel its walls pressed against me on all sides as I'm dragged cataclysmically between them. I am forced through the water and the oil head first at near breakneck speed. Blood rushes to my head as my arms and legs are smashed and battered against the metal. There's only terror and darkness. My head strikes against the metal pipe as the pipe levels out, and the world behind me screwed shut. Eyelids flashes red, then white. A ringing echoes in my ears and competes with the thunderous rush of the water as I release an involuntary bellow of pain. Oil and seawater pour into my mouth, my lungs, and I swallow some and breathe in the rest, choking and drowning as I'm dragged through the pipe along the seafloor. I'm going to die. This one singular thought plays over and over in my head. I'm going to die. And this is the end. The terror of my situation, for a quick, fleeting moment, is replaced by an eerie calm. The sounds of the rushing and hammering water do not lessen, but I find my attitude changed. It soothes me, and I think about the beach I visited as a young child with my family as I prepare to exhale my final breath. Except, instead of producing bubbles as I do so, I instead begin to choke and splutter. I start to cough, sputtering, coughing. And I realize at once that this can only mean one thing. I have found air. I gasp and retch. I try to bring my hands up to my mouth, but they bang painfully against the inner walls of the pipe. My wrist throbs angrily, sending shards of pain shooting up my arm. I think the entire hand may be broken. Air? I think to myself, as the vision of the beach is lost. The terror floods immediately back into my mind, in the same manner as the water is hauled into the pipe. Most of my head is submerged in the water, though my eyes, nose, and mouth are free. If I lift my head, then my ears are raised above the waterline, and I'm able to hear, but the action presses my forehead against the metal coat above me. I have stopped moving, and the reality of my situation suddenly sets in. I'm in the pipe. Oh no. I murmur out loud, retching as I cough up the water and oil. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I scream. I slam my good fist against the metal, shouting for help. Please! Please! I scream into the pitch black darkness. Please! Someone! Amir! Ahmed! Panic strikes. There's nowhere to go, nowhere to turn, and no one to hear me. I can barely move. The water ebbs and sloshes around my face, and I gasp. My breathing becomes shallow and dangerous. You're not drowning. I have to keep telling myself, you're not drowning. You have some air. You can breathe. You can breathe. Calm yourself. Calm yourself, Kadar. I try to raise my legs, and one of my flippers kicks against the roof of the pipe. I try to turn a little to my side, and realize that to do so requires significant effort and a reasonable degree of pain. I have done some serious damage to my shoulder, and my neck too. Perhaps. The simple act of raising my head causes immense pain to shoot down my spine. But to allow my head to lower completely would mean the majority of my face is submerged. I force myself to slow my breathing. That's my priority. Nice, slow breathing. In and out. Slow deep breaths. With grunts of pain and a hammering heart, I shuffle and twist as best as I can, searching my person for my scuba equipment. I believe that I'm wearing only a single flipper now. I think the other must have been torn off as I was sucked into the pipe. No other equipment can be found. My breathing mask and the air tank is all gone. It's gone. Oh God. Oh God. I whisper, and despite my sense of logic, I bang again on the pipe. Hello? Hello? I shout into the inky darkness. Hello? Is anyone there?
Kadar!
Comes a voice from a little ways back along the pipe. It echoes from the darkness beyond my feet. I try to raise my face a little higher to look down into the void, but it's futile. I can see nothing. Hello? I shout back. Who is it? Ahmed? Are you alright?
Kadar!
He shouts, a relief of tempered with terror.
You're alive! I can breathe! Are you okay?
Another voice echoes from beyond, even Ahmed. It is fainter, but I can still hear. Guys! Guys! Comes the voice of Amir. Guys! Are you both alright? Thank the Lord, I mutter, holding back a sob of relief. Amir, Ahmed, it's Kadar. Are you hurt? Yes. Amir calls after me. I believe one of my arms is broken.
Likewise.
Amir shouts, then a little quieter. Fuck! I think my legs are too. Oh God! He realizes what sounds like a cry of pain, then swears.
What do we do?
Ahmed calls into the pipe.
What do we do?
He kicks against the pipe, and the sound reverberates down and over my head. Okay, hold on! Hold on! I shout, clenching my hands into fists, thinking, using my overheating brain as best as I can. The three of us are alive. We're trapped in the pipe at the bottom of the sea. No one knows we're down here, and once they find the wreckage of the habitat, they'll probably assumed we were killed instantly. Cast out into the sea, perhaps. I feel the panic returning. I try to stretch my limbs, but am unable. I kick the pipe in frustration and let out a shout of rage.
Kadar, calm down!
Calls Ahmed.
It's alright. We'll be alright.
Yes. I need to calm down. First things first. The pipe, when it reaches the seafloor, splits in two. I do not know if we have been pulled north towards the site of Azrak 1 or south towards the site of Azrak 2. How far away are they? I try to think. Azrak 1 is situated 1.5 kilometers north of the former location of the habitat. Azrak 2 is over twice the distance south. I have no idea how far along we were pulled down the pipe. It all happened so fast. We could be hundreds of meters in either direction by now. All I know is that we're breathing. The pocket created, it's likely due to the undulations in the pipe, small bumps and races over the support beams. It's entirely possible that there are more of these further down the tunnel. But how large are each air pocket? And at what point do they run out? Okay, I shout down. Friends, I have an idea. And we don't have time to waste.
On ears, brother.
Ahmed calls up. There's a moment of silence.
Amir.
Ahmed calls out.
Yes.
He replies weakly.
I'm here, but I'm not in good shape. I'm gonna be honest.
It's okay, I shout, forcing my own confidence to grow, believing in hope for us, for the sake of my friends, if not for myself. We'll be alright, just listen. I clear my throat, and the sound bounces off the pipes above me and back into my face. I raise my head to clear my ears from the water and wince from the pain. We need to move, I shout simply. We cannot stay here or we will die. Any further pressure changes and the pipe could fill up with water to the brim. And regardless, sooner or later, we will use up all the oxygen and we will suffocate. So I propose this. We do our best to move. We shuffle our way down along the pipes as far as we can. If we're in luck, we've been pulled north. And we don't know how much distance we've already covered. A strike 1 is 1.5 kilometers away max. That's the distance we can make, I'm sure.
And if we've been pulled north?
Amir calls. To this, I remain silent. The sound of something low and deep reverberates along the pipe. Then shakily, Ahmed replies.
Alright, Kadar. I'm with you. We do this. We crawl our way along the pipe. And we pray.
Amir, I call down. What do you think? He coughs and groans.
Kadar,
he says.
Look, I can barely move. I can't do this. You can.
Ahmed shouts.
You can.
No, Ahmed. Amir groans again.
Ahmed, my injuries are bad. I cannot move more than an inch. I'm gonna have to wait behind.
We can't leave you behind. Ahmed splutters. But Amir interrupts.
Go,
he says. And once you've escaped, you'll know where to find me. Just go, alright? You said yourselves the clock is ticking, so go! I hesitate, then release a long, shuddering sigh. God save you, brother. I call down. We'll be back. I promise we won't leave you.
I know,
he says, his voice distant and quiet. Fuck! I mutter angrily, slamming my fist against the pipe. Ahmed, are you ready?
Yes, he says. Right behind you, Kadar. Let's do this.
And so we began our venture. Excruciatingly, claustrophobic does not even begin to cover it. The knowledge that beyond these narrow confines is nothing more than the great weight of the ocean does not fill me with bravery. Every inch that we travel requires an exertion. I find little to no leverage on the wet, slippery and oil-soaked base of the pipe. So you have to find the slightest, narrowest of grooves, mostly around the upper half, and press my toes or heels into them, using my one good arm and my one broken one to help force myself along. Through the sloshing, sinister waters, I can see nothing. There's no level of light at all for my eyes to adjust to. So in the pitch darkness we remain. As we move, I try my best to keep track of the distance we traveled. My estimate, I think, is reasonable after 2 or 3 meters. After 10, my grasp is feeble. And beyond that, I simply lose track. It's impossible to tell. We just keep shuffling our way down the pipe. listening to the sounds of our breathing, occasionally calling down to each for insurance, Ahmed and I, slowly and steadily through the underwater pipe, inch by agonizing inch. It's tough to tell how much time passes, but after around 20 minutes, I make a disturbing discovery. It was gradual at first, so gradual that I did not notice, but there is now significant stress placed on the back of my neck. I'm having to hold my face as high as I can, and my forehead has been pressed against the metal for a while now. It is only when I have to alter the shape of my lips to inhale the air that I realize we are running out. I suppress a wave of panic and stop moving at once, shuffling back the way I came to give myself a little more airspace to work with. Water slushes in my ears and obscuring my hearing, but I call down to Ahmed. Ahmed! I call. Can you hear me?
Yes,
He shouts back, coughing.
everything all right?
Ahmed, I falter. Ahmed, we're about to run out of air. There's a pause.
What do you mean?
He asks, his voice higher, more anxious. I mean, their pocket, it's about to expire. Another pause.
Maybe there's another further down,
He says.
I've seen the schematics of the pipe. The undulations are not regular, so there could be another air pocket.
But what if there isn't? I shout back, chest now rising and falling desperately. Fuck! There's no space, no light. I can't breathe.
Get a hold of yourself.
Ahmed shouts, and it cuts through the madness. I seize hold of his words and allow them to anchor me. We can do this, brother. I take a deep breath. Alright, I say. Alright. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move as fast as I can along the pipe. I'll hold my breath and I'll search for another air pocket. Regardless of whether I do or don't, I'll be back to let you know. Okay?
You're a brave man,
Calls the voice of Ahmed.
Don't overdo it. Good luck.
Okay, I say, heart pounding. I begin to take a series of slow, deep breaths, gently and gradually expanding my lungs, preparing them to hold for as long as they're able. The sound is cold and eerie in the darkness. Steady, deep breaths. My chest rises and falls. I shuffle back along the pipe, my face pressed against the pipe, the air metallic and oily and grim. I can't hear anything now. The water comes all the way up to the sides of my lips. Shaking, I press my hands against the sides, doing my best to ignore the pain shooting through my right hand wrist. Here we go, Kadar. I take my final breath in, my lungs filled to their maximum capacity. I brace myself against the pipe, using my hands and feet to push myself further along. The air is lost, and I'm completely submerged beneath the water. It roams a constant, steady, roaring rumble in my ears. I use anything that I can to increase the distance I'm able to move. My elbows, knees, heels, shoulders, I use them all in search for leverage. Inch by inch, faster than before, I force myself through the pipe. My heart pounds. The beat is loud. So loud. My chest trembles, but I keep moving as far as I can. Inch by inch, inch by inch. Don't panic. If I don't find air when there's really nothing for us, we'll suffocate or drown or worse in the belly of the pipe, and we may never be discovered. I have to keep moving, inch by inch. My hands reach a particularly oiled section of the pipe, and instead of pressing against the sides, they slip right off. In a blink, my momentum is lost. I fumble and sputter in terror as I realize that means of my propulsion has now failed me. No, no! I think with flashes of terrible urgency. No, no! Bubbles unseen escape from my lips as I writhe in the darkness, suffocating in its cold embrace of the rusted beast. Please, I beg, sending up prayers to a god I've neglected, desperately searching for a workable surface. My foot finds a subtle groove, and I'm able to push myself another inch, and from there I'm able to move another. My journey continues, but I'm rewarded with no relief, because soon I will need to breathe in. My lungs have already begun to ache, and if I don't find another pocket of air then, I'll have to return through the pipe, back the way I came. Back past the slippery oily walls. What if I get stuck on my way back? What if I don't get back in time? How the fuck was this allowed to happen? I'm overcome with a sudden burst of rage, and bubbles spill through my clenched teeth as I force myself deeper and deeper through the water, as hastily as I'm able. My lungs start to burn. I'm going to run out of air. Just a little further. I can search a little further. I'm gonna run out of air. I'm going to die. Just a little further. I can do it. I can do it. And with a sudden gasp and a great shuddering breath inwards, I almost laugh in desperate thankfulness as the angle of the pipe is subtly changed, and I can feel myself emerged into a fresh new pocket of air. It is not fresh, of course, but in the moment, it's the sweetest air I've ever tasted. I come to a stop and allow some great and rasping breaths, filling and replenishing my lungs. Thank God. It's all I can murmur, over and over. Thank God, thank God. I calm myself, and once I have breath, I try shouting. I don't think he'll be able to hear me, but I try anyway. I receive no response, so try knocking a rhythm on the pipe. There's still no response, so regretfully, I prepare for the return journey. I'm scared, of course, but I now know that it can be done, that there's air waiting safely for me on the other side. So I fill my lungs once again and shuffle back through the pipe, feet first this time, back towards Ahmed's location. I use the material of my diving suit to help me pass the particularly low section and emerge back into the former pocket, spluttering and coughing.
Oh, good Lord!
Ahmed shouts.
Gunnar, you took your damn time! I thought you might have...
It's alright, I reply. We can make it. There's another pocket of air ahead. Now, listen. And I go on to explain the distance and what I'll need to do. Then finally, for the third and hopefully final time, we force ourselves through the watery darkness, back beneath and through the pipe, with the promise of the next air pocket, our guiding light. Inch by inch, inch by inch, as fast as I can, praying that Ahmed is able to keep up. And then, as before, my face emerges welcomely into the new pocket of air, but I continue moving along to allow space for Ahmed. The seconds pass, and it's just as I'm beginning to fret that I hear coughing. The sounds of great lungfuls of swallowed air as he breathes it in. Yes! I shout, banging my good fist on the pipe. We did it! We did it, brother!
Yes!
He splutters.
Yes, we did.
Then he releases what sounds like a laugh, and it fills my heart with hope. Come on, I shout. Let's keep going. And so we do. On a journey through the pipe, inch by inch. As the hours pass by, the timeless hours in the perpetual watery darkness.